Welcome back to the Privacy Report. We're always talking about achieving digital autonomy here. And today, we're really digging into something fundamental, your data, where you keep it, who controls it. Specifically, we're exploring this idea of, well, maybe breaking free from the big tech storage providers, taking our files back.
Exactly. I mean, the interesting part isn't just finding different storage, it's about fundamentally shifting who's responsible, who owns the liability. You stop being just a customer renting space, and you actually become the owner of the infrastructure. That changes the whole game, legally, financially.
Right.
We're talking about getting all the useful stuff, remote access, sharing files, but doing it with, full ownership and much, much stronger privacy controls.
Okay, owning the infrastructure immediately sounds like maybe a big project. But if the payoff is real independence, we really need to understand how that works. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, just a quick reminder, you can always subscribe to our newsletter for extra insights. That's at theprivacyreport.net.
So the piece of hardware we're focusing on is called network-attached storage, NAS for short. Think of it as a small, dedicated computer, basically a mini server that you plug directly into your home or office network.
Okay.
It essentially acts as your own private cloud hosted by you.
Right. So the key difference then compared to something like, say, Google Drive or Dropbox is that with those services, your data is sitting on their servers under their rules.
Precisely. And subject to their terms, their scanning policies, whatever they decide. With a NAS, the data stays on your device in your building. It doesn't leave your physical control unless you explicitly send it somewhere.
So it's not just about where the bits and bytes are stored. It's about who has the final say. Who's the authority?
Exactly. With the public cloud, the provider is the authority. They can scan your files. They respond to legal requests based on their policies. With a NAS, you are the authority. You set the rules for who gets access, how it's secured.
Okay, but what about functionality? People use cloud storage because it's convenient, syncing files, accessing them anywhere.
And that's the really compelling part. A modern NAS, when it's set up right, can do pretty much all of that. You get remote access, you can sync files across your phone, your laptop, whatever. You can share files securely, set up automatic backups. But you ditch the monthly subscription fees, and crucially, you avoid the sort of background tracking or content scanning that, let's be honest, these big providers often do.
So it sounds powerful. Is this something everyone should rush out and do? Or is there a specific type of user who benefits most right now?
That's a good question. While anyone interested in privacy could benefit, it probably offers the most immediate value to certain groups. Think small businesses who need tight control over their client data, or maybe content creators, photographers, videographers dealing with huge, sensitive project files.
Right, where a leak would be disastrous.
Exactly. Or professionals like doctors or lawyers who have strict regulatory requirements like HIPAA or other compliance rules about where data can live. It's really a strategic move for people prioritizing long-term data security and independence over maybe the absolute easiest initial setup.
Okay, let's look under the hood then. If you're trusting this device with potentially everything, it needs to be reliable. What makes a NAS resilient?
Well, the resilience really comes from the fact that it's not usually just a single hard drive in a box. Most NAS devices are designed to hold multiple hard drives, 2, 4, sometimes many more, and they often run these drives together in something called a RAID configuration, redundant array of independent disks.
RAID. Okay, I've heard that term. What does it actually do for you?
So, depending on the specific RAID level you choose, it provides redundancy. In simple terms, it means your data is copied or spread across multiple physical drives. So if one of those hard drives fails, and drives do fail, eventually your data is still safe on the other drive or drives. The system keeps running.
Oh, okay. So that's the built-in insurance against hardware failure.
Precisely.
But what about the flip side? Is managing that, dealing with a drive failure, replacing it, is that a huge hassle compared to the public cloud where you just don't worry about hardware? There must be some time cost, right?
That's fair. Yes, there's definitely more hands-on responsibility compared to a public cloud service. You are the IT department, essentially. There's an initial setup time, and you do need to handle things like replacing a failed drive. But the software that runs on these NAS devices, the operating system, has gotten really sophisticated and user-friendly. Brands like Synology have their DSM, or you have options like TrueNAS. They're designed to make Managing the storage, the RAID array, pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
They usually give you clear alerts if a drive is failing or needs attention. They try to abstract away a lot of the low-level complexity.
And you mentioned the operating system.
Yeah.
It's specialized for this.
Yeah, it's lightweight and built specifically for managing storage, users, and network services. And because it's a dedicated OS, you can often install add-on applications directly onto the NAS.
Oh, like what kind of apps?
All sorts. Things for automatic backups to another location, maybe even another NAS offsite, or to a compatible cloud service if you want that extra layer. Media streaming servers so you can watch your own movies or listen to your music from anywhere. Encrypted file synchronization tools. Lots of possibilities for customization.
Which brings us back to that core idea, data sovereignty, digital independence, the fact that your files aren't leaving your network unless you specifically set up a rule or an app to make that happen.
Exactly. That's the fundamental shift. You control the flow. You eliminate that background risk of your data being scanned, analyzed, or accessed by the third-party provider for their own purposes.
Now let's talk money for a second, because those cloud storage subscriptions, they add up month after month, year after year.
Oh, absolutely. They're designed to be a recurring revenue stream. With a NAS, you have an upfront cost, sure. You buy the NAS box itself, which can range, from maybe a couple $100s for a basic 2-bay unit up to $1,000 or more for something really powerful. And then you buy the hard drives to go in it.
Mm-hmm.
NAS-specific drives are recommended, like WD Reds or Seagate Iron Wolves.
Right.
But once you've made that initial investment, that's pretty much it. There are no mandatory ongoing monthly fees just to store your data. You own the gear.
That financial aspect alone is pretty compelling long term. It flips the economics from renting to owning.
It really does.
But you mentioned businesses and compliance earlier. This seems like more than just saving money for them, right? It sounds strategically important.
It absolutely is. For any organization that handles sensitive information, customer data, patient records, proprietary research, journalistic sources, knowing precisely where that data resides and who controls access is critical. It's not just a preference. It's often a legal requirement.
Like GDPR in Europe or HIPAA for healthcare in the U.S.
Exactly those kinds of regulations. Using a NAS, keeping the data physically within your own controlled environment, helps ensure you meet those data residency and security requirements. It also shields you from certain legal scenarios. If law enforcement issues a subpoena for data held by a big cloud provider,
They have to comply.
they generally have to comply if the data is on their servers. But if the data is solely on your NAS within your premises, the legal process is different. It directly involves you, the owner, not a third party, compelled to hand over customer data.
That's true digital autonomy in practice, using your own hardware to enforce your own rules and comply with regulations on your terms. Okay, so let's say someone listening is convinced they're ready to explore this. What are the first most critical steps? Not just plugging it in, but the key decisions you make early on.
Right. Beyond just picking a brand Synology, QNAP, TrueNAS, Asustor, there are several good ones. The really crucial early choices are about configuration. First, deciding on the right RAID level. Are you prioritizing maximum storage space, maximum redundancy, or a balance? That affects how many usable terabytes you get from your drives.
Okay.
Second, planning your user accounts and permissions from the start. Who needs access to what? Setting up strong, unique passwords for every user. Thinking about shared folders versus private ones, and maybe considering which NAS operating system fits your technical comfort level. Some, like Synology's DSM, are often seen as very intuitive, almost like a desktop OS. Others, like TrueNAS, might offer more raw power and file system features, but maybe have a steeper learning curve.
So OS choice impacts the day-to-day experience significantly.
Definitely. It dictates how you manage everything.
And the security. This is the big one, isn't it? You build this private fortress, but if you leave the door unlocked.
That's the critical warning. A NAS is only as secure as you configure it to be. A poorly secured NAS connected to the internet can actually be more vulnerable than using a major cloud provider because you're solely responsible for its defense.
So what's the biggest mistake people make?
By far, the most common and dangerous mistake is enabling remote access incorrectly. Many NAS systems offer convenience features to let you access files from outside your home network. The easiest way they often suggest is using automatic port forwarding via UPnP on your router or manually forwarding ports yourself.
And that's bad. Why?
It's extremely risky. Direct port forwarding essentially punches a hole straight through your router's firewall directly to your NAS. It makes your NAS visible on the public internet.
Ah,
This means automated bots scanning the internet for known vulnerabilities in NAS software can find your device and potentially exploit it if you haven't kept everything perfectly updated or if there's a zero-day flaw.
okay, so no direct port forwarding. What's the right way to get secure remote access?
The gold standard is using a VPN, a virtual private network.
All right, VPNs. We talk about them a lot for general privacy.
Yeah.
How do they apply here?
So instead of opening a direct port to the NAS, you set up a VPN server either on the NAS itself, many support this, or on your router if it's capable. Then, when you're away from home, you first connect your phone or laptop to your home network via the secure, encrypted VPN tunnel.
Mhm.
Once you're connected to the VPN, your device is effectively on your local network, virtually speaking. Then you can access your NAS just like you would if you were sitting at home. The key is that the NAS itself is never directly exposed to the public internet. Only the VPN server is, and that's designed specifically to handle secure incoming connections.
That makes sense. It's like adding an extra heavily armored gate before anyone can even get near the NAS.
Exactly. It's a crucial security layer. The setup takes a bit more effort initially than just clicking an Enable Remote Access button, but the security benefit is enormous.
Okay, so VPN for remote access is non-negotiable. What else is on the mandatory security checklist for, let's say, achieving bank-grade security on your NAS?
Absolutely mandatory. Use two-factor authentication, 2FA, for all user accounts, especially the admin account, no exceptions.
Okay.
Keep the NAS firmware and any installed apps constantly updated. Treat it like your computer's operating system. Install patches promptly to fix known vulnerabilities.
Right.
Enable encryption. Most NAS systems allow you to encrypt the data stored on the drives. Encryption at rest. You should definitely do this. And ensure your connections, especially remote ones via VPN, are using strong encryption in transit. And finally, use strong, unique passwords everywhere, and maybe even consider periodically reviewing the access logs to see who has been accessing the system.
That sounds comprehensive. It's not just plug and play, but it delivers a level of control public cloud just can't match.
That's the trade-off, precisely.
So let's try to summarize this. Private cloud with a NAS versus public cloud like Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. What's the core difference in a nutshell?
I'd say it boils down to customization and ownership versus convenience. NAS gives you complete control, deep customization options, maximum privacy potential, and usually much faster file access speeds when you're on your local network because you're not going out to the internet and back.
Right. And the public cloud.
Public cloud offers maximum convenience, minimal setup effort. You just sign up and go. But you sacrifice control, you have limited settings, your privacy is subject to their policies, and performance depends entirely on your internet connection, especially your upload speed.
But for the main things people use cloud storage for, syncing files between devices, sharing links, backups, can a NAS realistically replace those services?
Well, the vast majority of those common tasks, yes, absolutely. A well-configured NAS with the right apps or settings can handle file sync, secure link sharing, version backups, all of that. It functions as a complete private alternative.
And accessing those files remotely, say, from your phone when you're out. Assuming you've set up that secure VPN, is it smooth? What kind of internet speed do you need at home?
Yeah, it's generally quite smooth. The main bottleneck is usually your home internet's upload speed. If you have a decent upload speed, maybe ideally 10 megabits per second or more, accessing files, even reasonably large ones, should feel pretty responsive through the VPN or a dedicated secure NAS mobile app.
Okay. And just briefly, any specific hardware examples people might look at? Maybe one for beginners and one for power users.
Sure. For someone starting out who maybe prioritizes ease of use, something like a Synology DS224 Plus or DS423 Plus is often recommended. Their DSM operating system is widely considered very polished and intuitive.
Okay.
For someone who wants maximum performance, maybe more enterprise-level features, or wants to run virtual machines or containers directly on their NAS, they might look at something from the TrueNAS mini series, like the Mini X Plus perhaps. These run TrueNAS Scale, which is Linux-based and very powerful, but might involve a bit more learning.
Got it. So there are options depending on your needs and technical comfort.
Definitely. The key isn't necessarily one specific box, but making that strategic choice to bring your data home, so to speak, to own your data's destiny.
Which really leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If more and more individuals and small businesses start adopting self-hosted infrastructure like NAS for privacy and control, What kind of pressure does that eventually put on the big public cloud providers?
Yeah, that's interesting. Does it force them to maybe offer more transparency or perhaps different tiers of service with stronger verifiable privacy guarantees?
Or could this shift towards data residency, keeping data local, even start to influence how regulators think about cross-border data flows and control? It's something to consider.
It definitely changes the dynamics if owning your data infrastructure becomes more mainstream.
We really encourage you to think about your own data, where it lives, and what level of control feels right for you. Thanks so much for tuning into the Privacy Report. If you found this helpful, please do like and subscribe wherever you get your shows.
And as always, just a necessary note. This discussion was prepared with the assistance of AI.